Hello all, I am not sure who is singing in this video, but I had to share it at the start of my video because it is so relevant and so creative. I just had to share it, so enjoy. Hey everybody, it's Julie. This video is just screenshots. It's just my cell phone screen with me talking with a voiceover. So if you get a little bored, if you fast forward to about 21 minutes, you're going to see a news broadcast that I stuck in there that I felt was very relevant and had a lot of information. So if you watch that, that's at about 21 minutes in, and then there's a couple more things about flights and whatnot toward the end of the video. This is a very long video, and I will do an update video tomorrow where I actually talk to the camera. But if you're interested in watching, please watch, please share. Thanks a lot. Hello everybody, it's Julie, and I'm just doing a screen grab, and I'll probably plug in a video that I got from online of a very good news coverage about the xenophobia and all that going on. So I might stick that at the end of this video, just in case you're interested in watching it. But these are the numbers. This is where I get my update. And I know like the WHO, the World Health Organization, has more accurate things. This one comes directly to my WeChat. So if you look here, this is from the 11th at 9 in the morning here in China. So you can see that Shanghai is there. And that's where I am. Then you can see Wuhan here. So all these little dark areas are the ones that are most concentrated cases. They have greater than 1,000 cases, and then we start kind of rounding out with under 1,000, and then under 500, and under 100, and so on and so forth. I should go to Tibet because they have the smallest. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I'm not concerned. I got concerned a little bit when I found out that it was possibly airborne, and then it turned out that that wasn't yet confirmed, and someone reported it too soon. So I was going to go out today, but it seems like all of the Starbucks and that kind of thing are closed. So I'm going to give it one more day, and I'm going to go tomorrow. Everything should have been starting to open back up yesterday, but I've still heard a lot of things are closed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out tomorrow on the 12th, which is Wednesday, and I'm going to see what I see. It's rainy today. That's another reason I said I'll put it off one more day. That's what happened last time. There was good weather, and then I went out on the bad weather day, and I'm going to try to avoid doing that today. So I'm just going to stay home, but I wanted to do an update on this thing, and maybe talk a little bit about how I'm feeling. But we'll see, because I'm not planning to videotape myself, so it depends what you want to look at. Do you want to keep looking at my screen? I don't know. We see here, and I'm going to compare these with yesterday's, and I have a blog post out, and I'll try to put that in the link, in the comments. I'll put the link in the comments if you want to look at the blog post, where I originally talked about it being airborne and then corrected that with an update at the bottom, because I don't like to give fake information. Okay, so I was watching something with the World Health Organization yesterday. They were doing an update on the virus, and they asked the question if the suspected cases were dropping because they were not reporting them, or because they were over-reporting them. So if they were just basically saying, oh, you have a fever, you're a suspected case, and if they decided to stop doing that, if that's why the suspected cases dropped. The person they talked to yesterday said that they were unaware of this happening, the numbers dropping like that, so they would have to look into it. They didn't have an answer. But 28,942 was the number on the 10th and in the morning, and today it's 28,942. I hope I said that. And then today's suspected is 21,675. So if you're looking, the confirmed cases have increased by about 3,000, just under 3,000. So originally on yesterday, there were confirmed of 40,547 cases. And today we see 43,101. And the deaths have gone up too, because yesterday it was 910, which had already surpassed SARS, and now it's at 1,018. Supposedly there was another death outside of China, but it is not reflected in this data, so I'm not sure if that is true and where that was. The recovereds have gone up as well, which is good. So yesterday it was 3,312. Today it's 4,039. What I like about the way they did this is they've started showing these little columns, as you see, that show the new cases. See, I was doing the math yesterday on my blog. So now they have this little blurt here that shows the 2,097 increase in Hubei. And I'm not saying that right, guys, but I have trouble with the language here. And 427 increases in the recoveries. With the death toll, they didn't put the new numbers there. So I can do the math really quickly if I find my other cell phone. Okay, maybe we do it this way. Anyway, so yesterday, there were 871 deaths in Hubei. And you know what? The news thing I may put at the end of this, I don't know if I mentioned that, but there's a news thing I may put at the end of this. If she actually pronounced it right, and I need to listen to her, because then I can make sure I'm saying it right. But as we can see, it was 871 yesterday, and it's 974 deaths today. That means that last night 103 people died in Hubei alone, which is telling on this virus, because it's killing people pretty quickly, and especially in the concentrated areas. Obviously, in other areas, it's not, the death tolls aren't as high because the numbers aren't as high. So we have to be honest about that, or aware of that. So in Hubei yesterday, there was an increase, like I said, of 2,000 plus. So it went from 29,631 cases to 31,728. But they also had 427 recover. And I'd have to do research as to what that means. So yesterday it was 1,795, and today it was 2,222. I've shared some information about how the hospitals are in dire need. They have the space, but they don't have the supplies. So, yeah. So numbers have increased, as you see, in the arenas of the confirmed cases and the recovered cases pretty steadily, but I'd have to look case by case for the death counts. Um, there was an extra death in Henan, not Hunan, Henan, I guess. I don't know how to say it. And then there was in Anhui, there was another death. I'm not saying that right either, guys. Just, bear with me. I don't have the wherewithal to be. Then this one, I'm just gonna. It's at Heilongjiang. They had an increase. They had a death increase. So, like, I'd have to go number by number. But it's still only showing the Philippines death. So I'd have to look into the global death I thought I heard about, that there was one outside of China again. And they show 73 more cases in Japan. We also have to look at the fact that Japan has that cruise ship, which is essentially an incubator of this disease. So now pretty much anybody on that ship is not getting off anytime soon. And as long as they stay there, it's a greater risk to them, because this is an incubator of this disease. You're sitting these people in this closed up area, and we're just going to continue to see an increase in these cases because they're sitting on a cruise ship, and it's just not feasible. It's not wise. So they're saying that incubation can reach 24 days. However, it's important to note, as I watched that video yesterday, and maybe I can find the link to that video and share it, where the World Health Organization was updating on this virus. They were explaining that it isn't necessarily a 24-day incubation period. What essentially it means is that you've been double exposed. So you were exposed and you had your 14-day incubation period, and then you got exposed again sometime during that 14 days. So it makes it appear like it's a longer incubation period, but it really isn't. It's essentially double exposure. That person has essentially been exposed to the virus at 2 separate times during the incubation period, which makes it look like a longer period, but it's not. So these are the kind of things that it's good to have different avenues of information, because like I said, I shared that the virus was airborne yesterday or 2 days ago, and I found out it actually isn't airborne yet. In the extent of, like, you could breathe it out, and if I walked past 10 minutes later, it's still in the air. That's what I mean by airborne. It's obviously airborne in the way that you could sneeze on me and I can catch it. But that's also the transfer of the actual virus from a fluid. So it's not necessarily airborne. I am not a doctor. And then this is talking about how the custodians, the IEs and the custodians and the cleaning staffs and all of that, and the security and all that, they're on the front lines of this. So they're the ones standing out, along with doctors, of course. Don't misunderstand that. But they're the ones standing out there cleaning and making sure things are safe for everybody else. And in so doing, they're becoming exposed, and they don't have the proper equipment. So, that's the other thing. Now, so 27, maybe that's where I heard that there were 2. Maybe it's not necessarily that the person was outside of the U.S. Maybe it was just a person that was a foreigner. So, yeah. And then it's down there at the bottom, it's talking about the, confirmed cases on that cruise ship increasing because they're in an incubation. It's just going to happen. I mean, it's unfortunate, because as much as we want to, like, the Chinese government has admitted that they did not, that's what this video, if I put it at the end, talks about, that they admitted that they did not handle it the way they probably should have when the outbreak first happened. Especially when you look at that doctor that was trying to warn people and was basically penalized for that. Looking at all of that, and ultimately, unfortunately, died from the virus. Looking at all of this, the Chinese government admitted that the first beginning of this virus should have possibly been handled differently, and we can all see that. And that's that's the way life is for most things. We can look at things from the back and be like, oh, I probably should have done this differently. We learn from it, right? They're doing what they can now with the knowledge and the resources they have available. Wuhan is officially on lockdown. Like, you cannot get in or out. I'm sure you could get in, but you'd have to have a really good reason to do so. Families are separated. They have to, if they're quarantined, they have to be given, like, left food. They can't have interaction with their family. Um, there was an article or something talking about how, like, a large family went out for hot pot. Guys, I'm not a fan of hot pot. I'm not a fan of it. That's neither here nor there, but I'm just letting you know, you don't have to worry about me. And they went out for hot pot, and it's a communal thing. You put your food into a communal basin, and essentially they, like 20 of them or something caught the virus. So we all just have to be careful, and we have to be aware. For me, since I know I don't have necessarily adequate protection because the masks that I have aren't necessarily the right mask. I have two surgical masks that I can wear I'm trying to save those for if I have to go to the hospital for any reason whatsoever. I want to have one of those kind of masks. And if I had to go into like a highly public area for some reason, which I'm avoiding like the plague right now. Thankfully, I have that's probably really poor use of words right there, so I apologize. But right now I have a scooter. And so I don't have to take metros. I don't have to take DDs. I'm staying in the centralized area, and so I'm not having to use those masks. If I go into a store or something, I have a mask on. And the thing is, if I don't have the virus, I don't necessarily need a surgical mask because while that does keep the virus out, it also keeps the virus from getting out. So if I knew I was infected, then I would be liable because I'd be walking around spreading it knowing that I have it. I don't have it. So the mask I wear is more so it's just a cursory protection that I have to do. Whereas people that have the virus need to be wearing those surgical masks, and people in like constant contact with people need to be wearing those, like the food service people and whatnot. So we see this all over China now, where everybody's wearing these masks, and you can't get them. If you weren't quick on the draw, and I definitely was not quick on the draw, you missed your window, and I missed my window, and that's fine. Like I said, I'm avoiding. I go out very rarely. At this point, they've pushed back our start date to the 17th of March, and we're going to be working from home starting today. So they're taking precautions, and things are doing what they need to have done. But the thing is, like, everybody else is wearing their masks, and that helps to protect us that don't have the adequate. And I'm not saying not to walk around without a mask. I'm so glad that I bought that mask at the beginning of the year last year, because I wouldn't have anything right now. The other thing I can't find is hand sanitizer. But other than that, everything is good. I think the biggest things are isolation. Isolation is it's very frustrating, and it's very hard. And when you're completely isolated like I am, where yeah, I can chat with a couple people, but mostly we're locked up in our apartments. And if you live alone, your chances of not getting it are like 100-fold increased. However, at the same time, you also live alone. So, as I've said in my previous videos, just keep your prayers on Wuhan, keep your prayers on China. If you can send supplies, send supplies. Find an appropriate channel so you're not just sending them to the abyss and you have no idea what happens to them. Send them to China. I'm okay. I'm doing fine. And I'll probably do a video where you can see my face tomorrow when I'm out and about. But I wanted to just give an update on the numbers and show you where I'm getting my stats, because people are like, where are you getting your stats? But once again, same principle. Please double check your sources, because like I said, I just shared a couple days ago that it was airborne, and it was not in fact airborne. So, I mean, I made sure to correct that I was wrong on that, and most people with fake news just keep running with it. But just make sure you're checking your sources and verifying your sources before you're sharing anything. Please, if you see hate speech going on, please nip it. Stand up for China. Stand up for the Chinese people. You know if someone's being a jerk about China, Please, there's joke quote or joke memes and all this stuff going around. So let's just try to not forward those, not share those. Let's have a little empathy and understanding for the Chinese people as they face this. You don't understand their culture, and that's fine. But we don't have the right to make fun of their culture. You may not agree with their culture, but we don't have a right to spread hate speech, to spread lies, to say they deserve this, to say any of the stuff that's been said. Just because there's a cultural difference you don't understand doesn't mean that you need to be speaking out of turn about that. But anyway, I hope this video was informative. I'm sorry it was boring. I tried to keep moving the screen, but I'd forget. So I'll try to maybe stick some stuff in here that makes it not so boring. But yeah, I'm going to try to put links in the pages, like I said, and I'll probably put that news report at the end, as long as it's not a violation of any copyright stuff. But okay, thanks for listening.
As another week draws to a close, the fight against the deadly coronavirus continues. But China is not only battling the virus, but a wave of deeply repugnant and often racist-laden attacks. First came the cartoon published in a Danish newspaper, the Jutland Post, which replaced the 5 stars on the Chinese national flag with a pictogram of the virus. The cartoon was backed by Danish politicians who, once again, retorted with cries of freedom of speech. But freedom of speech should not harbor freedom of discrimination based on race, nationality, or any other denominator. Bats don't carry passports. Foreigners can catch the virus too. To imply there is a connection between the virus and the Chinese nationality or race is wrong and insensitive at a time when people are dying and enormous sacrifice is being made. In France, a publication ran with the headline "Yellow Alert" alongside a picture of a woman wearing a mask. On the cover of the latest version of the German magazine Der Spiegel, it reads, "Coronavirus made in China when globalization becomes a deadly danger." I've been told in these societies people are in general well educated and respectful towards others, but such headlines really call that into doubt. Could the publishers have been serious? Now here comes the champion of all titles, that of a piece published in the Wall Street Journal on Monday, which reads, "China is the real sick man of Asia." Now, the H1N1 flu pandemic, which broke out in the US in 2009, caused some 18,400 deaths worldwide. Did anybody write about the real sick man of North America? The title shows a complete lack of sympathy, even humanity for China, from the writer or whoever decided to put that in print in what is turning into one of its darkest hours in China's recent history. Yes, kick China while it's down. The article is on the opinion page, but does that exonerate rubbish like this? We're talking about the Wall Street Journal, not a gutter tabloid. Why are they giving column inches to such content? Freedom of expression? How about an article saying, "Slavery is glorious"? Will the Wall Street Journal carry that? In the article, the writer took a swipe at the Communist Party of China, claiming there are signs that Chinese authorities are still trying to conceal the true scale of the problem. Well, don't look for specifics because the article doesn't provide any. So here is how I understand the situation. In the beginning, the epidemic was not handled properly and promptly. Local officials have acknowledged that on TV. Efforts quickly caught up, but hospitals were overwhelmed and possibly still are. Without quick and accurate diagnostics, we simply don't know the true scale of things. Top-level experts have said that on national TV, what they know so far and what they don't. The article also calls into question the credibility of the government, saying the performance to date has shaken confidence in the Chinese Communist Party at home and abroad. Many people would agree with him on that, I have to say. A doctor just passed away from the virus. He was among the first to warn others about what he believed was the re-emergence of SARS. His warning was leaked onto social media and he was reprimanded by local police for spreading rumors. The Supreme People's Court had published an article suggesting his message should have been tolerated, even heeded, instead of cast as rumors. Unfortunately, he had already caught the virus and perished days later. Lots of anger and questions poured out on social media. Overnight, the Chinese central government decided to dispatch a team to comprehensively investigate his case. A period of introspection will take place in due course, and China will find answers in its own way and come out all the stronger for it. Lessons will be learned. The world should have more confidence in China. Unlike chilling titles and words from some, recognition and support from others are like rays of sunshine, warming the hearts of the people in tears. As China and the world continue to fight this virus, let us not point fingers, attack our fellow citizens, or spread fear and hate. Let us unite in the face of common adversity, fight the best fight we can, and move forward to a healthier and brighter future.
So this is just an addendum to the video, and my dog is barking. Sorry, my foster dog is barking because it's very noisy in my hall, and a lot of people have come back here. So these are the places that have banned airfare or flights from China right now. So you can see, you know, Australia there, Fiji, Hong Kong. So this one is just the Hubei province, so it's not necessarily China. Israel, Japan, and as you see, most of them are from Hubei, which most of the people, with the exception of the ones that already got out, but we're looking at the lockdown is I believe almost to 14 days now. So most people won't be coming from there the last 14 days anyway. So a lot of these have travel restrictions, but they're not necessarily well, here the Maldives, they're denying anybody from China from coming in. So you can see here that most of it is specific to the region where the outbreak is the most prevalent. However, the U.S. is obviously, that was the one people know about the most, where they're actually blocking anybody who've gone to anywhere in China, with the exception of U.S. citizens. I've heard that a lot of U.S. citizens or a lot of people have to go into a quarantine when they arrive somewhere. They have to go through health screening. They have to answer questions. The thing is, for me, I'm legit, like, I get that there's people that want to leave or people that need to get out of here. For me, the thing is that if we're still letting people out of China, we're still allowing this to spread regardless. And I'm not saying to lock down China because I'm here. So I'm not saying, I don't want to be locked down here. So that's not exactly what I'm saying. But the thing is, I'm having people that want to, they want to leave China, and these people aren't sick. So don't read too much into this, but they're trying to find the roundabout way to get places. So they'll ask, like, oh, can I fly to, Fiji? And they're going to tell them, oh, this is how you do it. You go to, like, Thailand, and then from Thailand you go to Fiji. Or you fly to here, and then you fly to there. So people are finding ways around these blockades. And in my brain, I'm like, that's what's causing the virus to spread is people leaving China to go other places. And like I said, I'm not talking about locking down China because I don't want to feel trapped here. Right now I still have access to leave China if I really want to pay money or find a flight. So this is like an extreme example. Obviously, I wouldn't leave right this second. But if I wanted to leave today, this is the cost of flights to get out of China to go to LA. That's what I looked for. I didn't look for anything closer, because if I was going to leave, I'd fly to LA, and then I'd take a train to New Mexico, or I'd have my mom pick me up in LA or something. So right now, these flights, the cheapest flight is actually $3,396 US. So if we move to the next day, we see that it go down significantly, and the flight time also does as well. That is essentially emergency flights, and most times you would find emergency flights to be fairly expensive like that. So we're looking tomorrow. If I wanted to fly out tomorrow at 2 o'clock on Korean Air, it would cost me $608 US. Now, that is not a lot, but that is also one way. So that's going to be like the normal price we're going to see for anything in the future. The thing is that I could buy a ticket for next week, and it's still it could be canceled, or the more restrictions can be put on, and then the flight isn't valuable, and I don't know how easy it is for people to get their money back. So there we see flying out 9 in the morning on the 13th is $495. But what you have to realize is, when I was first looking around these times, the beginning of February and whatnot, the flights were that for round trip. So if we go back in here and we do a round trip, let's say we come back on the 19th. I just pick random dates. It doesn't really matter. And so once again, looking at today, which we would not do, we're looking at round trip is 30. Well, they have a cheaper one. Okay. You got to wait for it to load sometimes. It's still searching. So, but let's go ahead with that one. 28,000 kwai, which comes out to $4,000 US. We fly out tomorrow. Remember that there was a 4,000 flight tomorrow, a 3,000 flight the next day. That 2 o'clock flight round trip, remember this is round trip now, is $768 US. And then tomorrow, we'll wait for it to load, for that cheapest flight was at 9 in the morning or something, I believe. Oh, so apparently, like, the round trip airfare made that flight more expensive because it dropped down there. But at 11:20, we can do that flight for $62.09, so $889. So as you see, the round trip flights right now are pretty high. And if one was thinking of actually leaving in an emergency situation, it's almost impossible to do so. So more than likely, if I was going to leave, I'd have to leave like on the 19th, because I would have to take the pets with me. I just would. And I honestly would not do a round trip, because I don't know when I would come back. That's the price on the 19th. There we go. I was like, that's really insane. That shouldn't be. But yeah, there we go. So 3,396. It's still searching. They might find a cheaper one. But that's what people are facing. And then, of course, you have to realize my flight would not be 3,396, as I have cats. So that's going to increase the cost. I don't know what it is per cat. I don't even know if Air China flies out cats. So that's the other thing. I'd have to find an airline, and Delta is not flying out of here, and a lot of the major airlines, as you can see, are not flying out of here. And I'd have to do research to see if any of these take pets out, and more than likely most of them will not do so. And then, of course, another avenue is you just look at trip.com or another kind of a site. So they're saying that they have some airfare one way to Los Angeles from Shanghai, but that's not till April. So as we look back in these directions, we see it increasingly getting more and more expensive, more and more expensive, as we get closer to a time you'd actually want to leave. But it's good to know that if I want to go to America for my holiday in April, because we do get a few days off in April, that it would only cost me $1,000 to fly there. I don't know how much it would cost to fly back. And then, of course, hotel. That's only $167. And as you see, there's a notice there on the 2nd of February, foreign nationals who have traveled to China will be not entered into the United States. So it's an interesting situation, because you can look at this from different perspectives. And I had someone be very snarky with me about choosing to stay here and catch this, and I'm like, I'm not, choosing to stay here to catch it. I'm choosing to stay here because this is where I live. And then I have people that are just taking off. And like I said, I could very well book a flight and go back to the States for a week or two and just kind of breathe. But at the same time, like I said, it would require me to invest a great amount of money, and it would also require me to have my pets cared for. So this is just some things to think about. So yet another addendum. Here we have an article that came from the U.S. To tell us about how to wash our hands, which is legitimately the truth. So they show you, rub your hands, right palm, rub palm to palm. So what somebody told me was you should be able to sing through the happy birthday song twice. And so I've started doing that. And it's interesting because I'm like, wow, I maybe would wash my hands singing through the happy birthday song once. Because by the time I started again, I'm like, sheesh. But so you do, you sing happy birthday twice. And the thing is, like with this, use hot water also, warm or hot. Usually as hot as you can stand it, because the hot water kills the germs. At least that's what I've heard. So if I'm wrong on that, I don't know. But we can look up at this article. And there it is in Chinese, Mandarin. But wash your hands with soap and water. And they're saying there it's a big problem even in hospitals, which I totally get because, people get sick all the time here. But no, they don't say anything about the water. But I've last I heard, hot water's best. So use hot water, wash your hands, and